Hi everyone, welcome back to Art in Action Portland edition. Tara and I have been here for about 3 or 4 weeks, so we've started settling in, getting used to the city, all of that stuff. And while we're in Portland, we decided to focus on the issue of homelessness in the city, just because it's a very pressing issue at the moment and we wanted to learn some more about it and kind of see how art and community building fits into all of that. So we've been volunteering, going to events, and interviewing a bunch of arts nonprofits around the city that try to bring art and community to the homeless population in Portland. And one of those organizations is PAIR, which is the subject of today's video. We interviewed their program director, Tony, last week, and he really broke down what PAIR does and how they try to bring community and resources to homeless youth in the city. So I want to talk a little bit about what he told us and what PAIR does, because I think they're doing very special work that deserves to be highlighted. Tara had the idea of taking you guys on a little trip throughout the city while I'm explaining everything. So I'm gonna take you guys to PAIR, get a little coffee at the coffee window there, and then show you a little bit of downtown Portland and kind of the southeast part of the city as well. So yeah, it should be a fun time. Sit back, relax, and let the dulcet tones of my voice take you on a little journey. Is a nonprofit located in downtown Portland that endeavors to connect homeless youth to art, job training, healthy food, and most importantly, to community. The space is open from 9 to 2 p.m. Tuesdays through Fridays as a drop-in center for youth to come get a hot meal, hang out with each other, play games, make art, read a book, or pick up any resources they need, like socks or toilet paper. It's a giant space with really lovely natural light, lots of art on the walls. They have an industrial kitchen, a library corner, communal tables, and a wall of art supplies. The space felt so cozy and inviting and just a really lovely place to be. So one of PAIR's goals is to provide youth with opportunities to gain work experience and training in an environment that is supportive and empowering for them. And they do this in a couple of ways. The first is the Bike Works program, which is a social enterprise bike shop that serves the Portland community while also giving youth a chance to learn about bike repair and give them some job training experience. And another way that PAIR offers work experience is through Coffee Works, which is a coffee window in the facility where youth can train as baristas as part of a 10-week program and gain new responsibilities. They can build their CV and learn important skills for the job market in a space where they're supported. And students start with the training program and then they move on to the retail window before they're able to apply for any jobs elsewhere. PAIR also has an on-site gallery space, which is open to the community where youth can show and sell their art. And the youth keep 90% of the profits from sales, and then the money left over is used to replenish materials. Tony showed us one piece that looks like Sully's fur from Monsters, Inc. that a youth made for his daughter because it's her favorite movie, which was really cute to see. And then we actually went to the gallery opening on Thursday, and it was so lovely. They had a really good lo-fi DJ, someone was making espresso drinks, and all the art was really vibrant and gorgeous. And they also had really cool stickers, which Tara and I obviously had to buy. PAIR also hosts a ton of creative events in collaboration with other local organizations and artists. And they have a really big whiteboard in the facility with their calendar on it, and it was absolutely filled up. They've done collaborations with Adidas, where youth got to learn how to design sneakers, and they had the animators of Coraline do a workshop as well, which was really sick. Then PAIR also puts a lot of emphasis on celebrating the experiences and the diversity of the youth that come through its doors. One way they do this is through their monthly artist in residence, who is usually a local BIPOC or queer artist who comes to work with the youth and shares their practice with them. And then their library corner is also filled with books on queer identity and feminism and social justice and art and all that good stuff. So now that I've explained a little bit about the practical side of PAIR, I want to talk about some key aspects of their approach to working with youth. Something that Tony said in our interview that really stood out to me is the question, what does it mean to teach kids that they don't have to survive, at least when they're in this space? This is a core piece of what PAIR is all about, which is creating a place where kids feel safe to have fun, to connect with others, and to be themselves. One way that PAIR does this is by operating from a place of abundance. This means that if youth want a second plate of food, they can just go get it. They don't have to ask for permission. Or if they need supplies like socks, they can take as many as they need. They don't need to wait for a member of staff to go get them one pair. Tony explained that a lot of youth were really shocked by this approach because they're used to being in a conventional social service program where they're given one pair of socks, one plate of food, and everything operates from a place of scarcity and regulation that isn't concerned with youth's individual needs. And in contrast, by letting kids take as much as they want, you're showing them that this space belongs to them, that people trust them to use the space, and that their needs are believed and cared about. The other component of making a space where kids don't just have to survive is by helping them build meaningful relationships between each other and with PAIR staff. The majority of kids that come to PAIR are in some form of transitional housing. So they're really coming to PAIR to socialize, to make art, have some food, and because they know the staff are going to check in with them and genuinely care that they're okay. PAIR tries to let kids know that it's okay to feel sad or angry or scared or even happy and excited, and they don't have to mute those emotions for other people, and the staff will show up in the same way. Tony told us that, for instance, he wants kids to know that he really does mean it when he says, "I really love you and I really miss you and I hope that you're okay." And I think you totally saw this in the way that he interacted with all the youth. A couple of them came up to talk to him during the interview, and he always took a genuine interest in what they wanted to talk about and how their day was going, and if they needed to talk to him later about something private. And this kind of model is in direct opposition to both life on the streets, where you're not necessarily able to sit with your feelings because you're just trying to survive, and then it's also in opposition to this institutional model of social services, which is usually dehumanizing and bureaucratic in its approach. Something else I want to talk about is that because PAIR is a youth service, it's working with kids whose brains are still developing, who are still growing into who they're going to be, and that means that PAIR staff play a big role as mentors and teachers. Something that Tony mentioned a lot is that PAIR wants to inspire young people to be who they want to be, not who they think they should be based on external pressures or models. And a big part of helping kids realize that potential in themselves is through all the exposure to different creative endeavors and role models they get at PAIR, whether that be from the staff or from visiting artists, musicians, chefs, and the workshops they do. This idea of mentorship and encouraging kids to become who they want to be is so important because it's about celebrating kids as the individuals that they are with their own dreams and their own capabilities. And it's a mindset that stems from a place of hope and optimism, rather than assuming that kids are a lost cause because they are or they have been houseless. The other component of helping youth figure out who they want to be and supporting them is equipping them with the necessary skills to be successful in the world and to support themselves in their community. Often the way we think about solutions to homelessness can be very prescriptive. The sentiment is usually, oh, if we just give people houses or if we just give people jobs, everything will be better. But PAIR does a really good job of breaking down what kind of skills and support youth need to attain and, just as importantly, maintain those things. For example, with Coffee Works, they slowly guide you through each step of the program, moving from an intern to working the coffee window to eventually looking for work at other establishments. Throughout the process, they help youth learn really important skills like turning up to work on time and receiving critical feedback in an open and respectful way, working as a team with other interns and employees, asking questions, and being a leader. And then when youth do start earning a little bit of money from Coffee Works, they're taught how to invest that money in a positive way that will benefit them in the future. Because they've received such thoughtful guidance and had the chance to develop all these soft skills, they're much more likely to be successful when they enter the workforce, versus if they've just been shown how to make a few drinks and use the register and been sent on their way. This holistic, sensitive way of thinking about the experience of homelessness is crucial to creating change for individuals' lives and in our culture at large. Tony mentioned to us that the city of Portland has a voucher system where it will give vouchers to homeless folks to set them up with a home, which is all good, but what the city isn't necessarily thinking about is the skills needed to maintain that home. For instance, he mentions that some youth who come to Pear don't know things like how to clean a floor with a mop because they haven't had the opportunity to learn those skills. Without that kind of knowledge, they won't be able to maintain their home, which could lead to eviction and put them back on the streets. Furthermore, often these folks aren't allowed to have visitors to their houses, which means they can become isolated from their community and potentially spiral in their mental health or relapse if they have a history of addiction, which means they might stop turning up to work, and then they can easily be back where they started. So yes, we need to connect houseless folks with affordable housing, but we also need to be thoughtful about how we can support people in that process so that they can actually be successful. The other thing this kind of individual-based thinking does is shift the way we think about homelessness away from blame and judgment. Tony mentioned, for example, that people often name drug use as one of the causes of homelessness. But what that doesn't take into account is that someone might not normally use drugs, but they do so because they're a woman sleeping rough on the streets and taking meth allows them to stay awake at night so they can better protect themselves. Or they might be using drugs to self-medicate because of declining mental health from a traumatic experience they had while being on the streets. Pear doesn't frame drug use or crime or other behaviors as causes of homelessness, but rather as results of homelessness. The real causes of homelessness are much more complex, deep-seated issues like systemic racism, a nationwide housing crisis, and the lack of access to affordable healthcare. If we want to address the homelessness crisis in any meaningful, lasting way, we need to understand how America's history of inequality and discrimination has led us to the issues that we face today. In Oregon, Black people weren't allowed to live in the state or own property until the 1920s, and women weren't able to own property until the 1880s. These are the systemic issues we need to address if we want to create long-term change. And that involves things like voting in local and national elections, supporting organizations like Pear through volunteering and donating, getting involved in your local community, and educating yourself about homelessness in your area. Blaming and stigmatizing individuals is nothing but a distraction from the real work that needs to be done. Now I want to bring it back to the thesis question of our whole project. How can art be used as a tool for social change? And talk about how Pear answers it based on what they do. For one thing, at Pear, art is used to bring people together. It's an activity to commune around that's fun and relaxed. And art making is also an example of the kind of abundance that Pear encourages. Art isn't about survival, it isn't about utility. Instead, it's about play and free expression and experimentation and beauty and all these things that get lost when people are just trying to get by. Then, of course, there's all the workshops and visiting artists Pear has, which gives youth a chance to learn new skills, inspire a new career or practice, and connect with other creative people. And then you have the gallery, which again is another chance for youth to connect with each other and the community at large, to make a little money and learn about financial literacy, and then to have an opportunity to show that work and have others celebrate that work, which is really special. Hello, it's me again. Thank you guys so much for watching. It was really great to get to talk to Tony and just see what Pear is up to. Learning about them has been really inspiring for Tara and me, just in terms of seeing a new model for helping homeless youth that's based on empathy and genuine care and community building. And I think it's also made me think a lot about my own biases and just the learning and the work that I still have to do. And lastly, I think it's just given us a lot of hope to see there are people out there who genuinely care and are doing really important work and teaching people how to care for themselves and for each other. So again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great week, and we will see you again soon.